Linkar and I recorded this in the hotel room. We had been flown over mainly for the Nostalgia Critic review of Uwe Boll's Alone in the Dark, the three of us. And in the meantime, we were also there to go to the Chicago Comic-Con, where we were going to shoot like vlogs and stuff like that. We didn't really have much of an agenda there, but we during our spare time we did this. This is Linkar's script. And I should mention, I may be ruining Linkar's reviews for some reason. I don't know why. But there are several continuity errors in both of our crossover videos that are mainly my fault. I remember in the Wolverine Adamantium Rage review, there are a few continuity problems that are me. You can actually, he punches me out, and I think in the next scene you can kind of see me sitting in a chair grinning or something like that. I don't know what I was doing there. And in this one, there's that really strange card that says one thoroughly bizarre escape maneuver later, and then all of a sudden he's standing up. That is probably the worst case scenario for him after we shot this crossover. And when he was editing together, apparently the footage we shot didn't grant him any method of getting out of the chokehold, like moving from the chokehold to where he's standing up, shooting his gun, and then throwing the Phoenix down. Apparently there was just nothing he could use as a transition, no motion, nothing. And, you know, we obviously couldn't go back and reshoot that. And so he had to do what he had to do to mark how somehow, like, he just warps to an upright position and shoots me. I'm not sure if I would have done a title card, or at least not just one. If I was going to do title cards, I probably would have done like a running narration, like a silent film, where I would have said, "Little does Linkara know that Spoony is sitting up," or something like that. And then, so the one title card is not quite as jarring. Or I might have just cut right to him standing up and continuity be damned. I don't know if I would have necessarily drawn attention to the glaring continuity error. But again, that was the position I put him in, and it was a really hard position. And I don't know. I thought we had everything covered, and it made sense to us at the time. So I'm sorry, Lewis. I left you in the lurch with a lack of that shot. Sorry. I can't actually remember what day we shot this one. I think it might have been after the comic convention, and if so, that might explain a few things, because after that we were both really, really tired. Conventions are hard work. You may not think it, but like if you've ever gone to Gen Con or something, a lot of people like cardio train to last the 3-4 days that most conventions go for. You know, they have a little regimen where they plan on staying up that long, and so you will see some shambling zombies for these conventions after like the third day. We were only there one, and it burned me out. I guess that was mainly because I went there as Dr. Insano, and I was doing the whole Insano bit, which is actually kind of hard to maintain that kind of energy. So, you know, going in character for me might not have been the best move. But it was a lot of fun, and we shot a lot of vlog stuff, which I think Linkara has, and so you may see some of that footage later on. I'm really not sure how good that footage came out, though. It was really, really noisy down there, and Rob did his best to get the footage, but there was just so much ambient noise. I bet all you would just hear is this mob scene, this going on all the time. You'll probably see Linkara narrating, and you just won't hear anything. It'll be like, "Oh, look, an artist." I should actually talk about the. Oh, I know what. There's an interview I did with a major movie star that I really hope that I get to show you. And Linkara has that one. I'll work on that one. But I actually did interview a major celebrity, and it's I have a few things to say about that one as well. Whether or not there was any good sound, I will put the video up and at least narrate what it was like to interview the celebrity, because it was really awkward. Probably one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done in public. I've really built it up now. Anyway, the review. At the risk of losing my critical credibility here, I actually did not play most of these games. I did not play the Youngblood demo until much later after this review was done. So if it seems like I'm acting over much, it's because of that. I actually have played the Sega Genesis Spider-Man and the other game, although, again, I played those when I was a kid. So I remembered very little about this one, but actually when I saw this footage, all those memories really did come rushing back to me, because I do remember this game, and you know what, it really wasn't that bad. In fact, I kind of like most of the Spider-Man games. like, I think the Nerd did a bunch of Spider-Man video games, but even the one they'll by LJN against, I think it was the Sinister Six, I remember playing through that game pretty easily. I did not have that many problems with it. But it wasn't great by any means, but it was a good rental. You know, a lot of the NES games, you rented them for 3 or 4 days and you were done. It was pretty good. I'm a little surprised Linkara actually wanted to do another video game after Adamantium Rage. I seem to remember he had a lot of problems getting footage for that one. So then he goes and turns around 3 video games reviews, and good ones too, so I'm a little envious, especially when he managed to work in a Blake 7 reference. That's before I managed to. I'm the king of obscure references, so once again, I'm envious, Lewis. Stop it. Kind of a strange premise for a review too, but it kind of works, this whole idea where he resurrects dead and buried games. That's actually a little hard to find, games that were made and yet never made. I remember there was a critic who did the Star Trek, was it 5 or 6, where the one where the crew finds God beyond the Great Barrier. There was actually an NES game based on that, but it was never released. But you can find a ROM for it online, and so I was like, this critic does this whole review of this game that never existed, which at the time I thought was kind of strange and maybe even a little hypocritical, because it wasn't a game, you know, nobody ever played this game, and yet he was doing a review of it, and he was like getting really mad about how much it sucked, and I was like, well, no. You were never forced to play this as a kid. And like my whole premise as a critic used to be like, or maybe still is, I would review the movies and games that I would play as a kid and teenager and stuff like that really pissed me off. So I don't know. I don't know why I got upset by that, but actually that was one of the better reviews. And so this kind of reminds me of that one. And although this game did exist, and I think I make the comment that it was on the Genesis, so it might as well have been dead. I say that because I never had a Genesis. I was a Nintendo kid from the beginning, and I never really was all that impressed with most of the games on the Genesis, which I know makes me a hypocrite, but tell you the truth, I never even liked the classics. I think the one game I really liked on the Genesis was Jurassic Park. I never liked Sonic. It's heresy, I know. Never liked Sonic, but to me it just went way too fast, which, again, for Sonic was the point, it was very, very fast. But to kind of unlock the various stuff and to play well, you didn't want to go fast. You really needed to go a little bit slower and more methodical. Like the platforming and stuff, you had to slow down. And so when you tried to go fast, I would usually just end up running into shit or jumping off cliffs, and I would die. So I found Sonic to be a very slow-paced, methodical look-before-you-leap type game, which was not what was advertised. And to this day, I still don't know how you're supposed to play that quickly at Sonic, except just level memorization. Maybe that's it, where you're trying to do speed runs in Sonic by memorizing these stages. And the other thing that really made me mad was I was one of the few unfortunates who had a Game Gear, which was the Sega Portable, which was terrible. There were a few good games on it, but I remember playing the Sonic Portable on the Game Gear, which I didn't know at the time was one of the hardest goddamn games ever made. And I remember playing that on our road trips to my grandma's house in Missouri, and I would play this pretty much from beginning to end of this road trip, and I finally, after like 4 days of playing it, finally beat it, which I understand now is quite an accomplishment. If you've ever managed to beat the Sonic Portable, that's hard. So much like Bayou Billy, that was kind of this big mountain I really forced myself to climb, but after that I never wanted to look at Sonic again. Ever. It was that bad and that arduous. And once again, I'm rambling off topic. I should be really talking about Spider-Man. I'm bad, though. I mean, he actually offered to let me play them on his computer. He had all these ROMs and stuff on an emulator on his computer, and I was like, no, tired. Don't bother later. And he was just like, all right, whatever. But the Blackest Night shirt was actually bought at the convention, so it must have been after the convention because I was wearing that. And that was actually the only souvenir that I really bought that entire time. I was actually expecting I was going to see a lot of stuff that I wanted at the time. Oh, no, I did buy other stuff. Hang on. But I was actually stunned by how much crap there is at these conventions that I just really didn't want. And, what else was there? Just mainly a lot of T-shirts, little action figures, and like movie replica props. There was a stand for airsoft guns, which I thought was kind of strange. just a lot of collectibles that I just didn't really care about, and mainly me and Linkara were hitting the like the archived comics. There's a bunch of guys who just have like these rows of long boxes full of like antique comics, going back from like the early 90s back to the golden age, and so me and him were kind of tearing through those, Linkara more than me, looking for really obscure stuff, which he seemed to recognize. He has a much deeper knowledge of this stuff than I do. I actually found, I think the one feature that really attracted my attention was the Avatar Press stand, that mainly because Warren Ellis writes for Avatar, and so they were selling most of his trade paperbacks, most of which you can't find anywhere except through Avatar. So I kind of bought out everything that was there. And while I was there, I met, pardon me, I met Mike Wolfer, who did the art for most of Warren Ellis's Gravel novels. And that was really fun. I don't know if you've noticed, but Linkara actually is working on giving his stories more of a narrative structure. It used to be he would just kind of get in front of the camera and be like, I have a comic and it really sucks, and then he would tell you about it. And there was actually kind of a charm to that kind of simplistic approach where he would just kind of walk on, do his review, then be like, this comic sucks, and then walk off. But now he's trying to work in kind of little like story elements, where he has the Mecha and the whole Blackest night thing, and so he has this cast of characters that's kind of that crosses over with mine periodically. That was my computer. I don't know why it made that noise, but it's kind of clever how it's cool to watch how these critics kind of have an evolving style, and it gets better that way. And there's some people who complain that they really like the old style, and there's some people who are really glad to see that he's crossing over with people, so it's really hard to please people all the time. And so sometimes he will exchange the various negative comments we get in the hate mails about various things they didn't like. Like anytime Dr. Insano appears, there's like a core of 4 or 5 people who's like, fuck that guy, why is he in this show? And so, I don't know, like, there's a few people don't like Linkara on my forum. I actually should show him one of those comments where there's just like, why do you put that guy on your video? It's like, he's really funny and he's smart and he's got this great mind for comics. This game I played to death. I remember playing this at the arcade. My dad would work for Boeing. Great catch getting that, of course. I was not expecting that at all, and I don't even want to know how many hours of Avengers footage he had to look through to get that, of course. But anyway, my dad would work for Boeing, and they had a yearly party at Golfland. And Golfland is a mini golf and water slide park, which you may have seen in the movie Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, where Napoleon goes to Waterloo. Waterloo is Golfland. And so we had like 5 takes of that, and Linkara missed 4 of them, just completely whiffed. Yeah, Waterloo is the place we used to go to all the time, and they have this big castle, which is like 2 stories of video games, and the upper floor was always like the retro video games. So I spent most of my time up on the top floor, but downstairs they had most of the huge player games, like they had the X-Men, that was like that 6-player game, and they had Ninja Turtles, and they also had the Mighty Avengers, which was this one. And so we played that all the time. I always got stuck with Dazzler on the X-Men. I think I always got stuck with Hawkeye on the Avengers, which was kind of strange to me why nobody wanted to play Hawkeye, because Hawkeye is fucking hardcore. Like in the Ultimate series of comics, the Ultimates, like the one character I thought was really, really good in that whole series was Ultimate Hawkeye. That dude is fucking badass. I remember he's like tied up and chained, and he manages to kill his interrogators by peeling off his own fingernails and like flicking them into their throats and killing them. I was like, that's awesome. See, friggin' hardcore right there, underwater arrows. Hawkeye's got an answer for everything. I love that guy. And what's shocking to me is these were never released on home consoles. At least I don't remember them ever being on home consoles. You have to be like a MAME freak, like the MAME emulator, to get these. Or maybe they're on Xbox Live now. But I remember as a kid, the only one you could ever play was the Ninja Turtles, like Turtles in Time series, to get that same experience. But I could never get the X-Men. I could never get the Avengers. And I mean, these were button mashers. They were party games. But man, how cool would it have been to have your friends over, like 2 or 3, 4 friends over, to play the Mighty Avengers through, because that was a good game. It was good to get people together for this. This was my idea. The fact that this was supposed to be the hallway, and yet you can see me coming out of the bathroom. I didn't want to shoot this in the hallway because we were going to be doing like punching around and doing like flops and talking lines out in the hallway. And I think this was at about midnight or 1 in the morning. I didn't want to disturb the guests. I don't think. But I was like, I'm going to come out of the bathroom. I'll pretend it's the hallway. And so I think you can actually see the toilet behind me in that one. But yeah, this is the extent of our budgeting and makeup effects. Was I bought a T-shirt at a comic convention and I got my hair kind of wet, and Linkara got a promo Black Lantern ring, which I still have. He gave that to me. Very nice of him, by the way. The Black Lantern ring is actually pretty well made for that kind of cheap tchotchke that the comics kind of give you. I remember the Green Lantern ring was not really that good. It was much smaller, but the Black Lantern ring you can pretty much wear. Oh, the Try to Kill Me with a Forklift. I think this whole review is based around that moment. Linkara really wanted to get that in, and I would too. Believe me, if I ever saw something where somebody tried to kill another guy with a forklift, I would work that bit in, come hell or high water. Which is, Nostalgia Critic actually made that excuse where we were actually, I remember before he even admitted we fucked up, I started singing that song as I saw the forklift coming at him. It's just like that ingrained in my personality. Coming up, you're going to see one of the many whiffs that Linkara did because he throws like a girl.
Miss me!
Thanks for watching, everybody.